Hello, good evening, and welcome once more to the Real Estate Plate. As always, I'm your host, Nick Sakalis, coming to you live from the WGBB studios over here in lovely Merrick, New York, even though it's not so lovely today. Combination between the weather and the traffic is a killer, but I'm still upbeat, as upbeat as you can get with this kind of weather. I mean, it was a pretty miserable weekend as far as the weather was concerned, so hopefully it clears out tomorrow and we get some nice weather and enjoy September and the decent weather while it still lasts. Today's going to be a day dedicated to a topic that has been a hot subject for a lot of people, and we've talked about this in the past, but because of the volume of people that have been calling me up about it, I'm going to be getting a little bit more into it and dedicate for the most part of this show to what to do when you're selling your home, or better yet, what not to do when selling your home. Because between that contest that we're running on the Problem Property Challenge and a lot of people that have been coming to me late, I mean, they come to me all the time to ask me, what am I doing wrong, that kind of thing. And I'm constantly getting messages, mail regarding tips and advice as far as that's concerned. And I'm going to make sure that I try to cover as much as I can. And hopefully I'll answer as many questions as I can for everybody. As always, you could call live at 516-623-1240. And I'm going to just make a point of this number because I've had this issue in the past where people have tried to call me and they decide to call me on my cell phone. I just want to be clear about this. When I'm on the air, I can't answer my cell phone. It's not really a great situation. So if you want to call and add to the conversation or ask a question or make a comment or anything like that, you need to call up the actual radio show number. And the number again is 516-623-1240. And even when you text me, it doesn't mean I'll always catch it, because if I'm in the middle of a conversation or a topic, I might not be looking at my phone at that moment. So, you're better off actually sending me a comment on Facebook Live, where, we're doing this over the past few weeks. And I've been getting a lot of commentary and private messaging through Facebook on that. So that works as well. And the other thing I just wanted to make a note of is, for the most part, I've been getting really positive feedback on the Facebook Live experience and being able to interact with people while we're doing the broadcast. And at the same time, the replay level works out well for a lot of people that might have missed the show. And we're considering changing the platform over from Facebook Live to possibly streaming it through our YouTube channel. So I'm not sure when and if we're going to be doing that, but it's something we're going to be tinkering with, possibly even trying to simulcast them both at the same time through both channels and give a more of an audience a little bit of more options as far as how to be able to listen and watch the show. For the most part, I guess listening works for a lot of people. Watching me doesn't really help a lot of people because of just basically watching me talk while I'm at the radio station. But I'm going to be taking all these videos and we're going to be editing them, adding a few things that I think people will find really interesting, and being able to add samples and pictures, videos within the video to be able to get make a better picture of all the topics that we're talking about. I think that would help everybody. We're going to be posting those on Facebook. We're going to be posting them on our YouTube channel, and it's going to give everybody a really good overall experience of what we're talking about and be able to actually put a visual to the topics. Speaking of visuals, I'm going to be going off of actually, you know what, before I get into that, I'm going to answer a couple of emails that were sent to me regarding questions that they had on the show. And feel free, if you're actually nervous about calling in, or you don't want to talk directly to me and you just have a question, you can always send me an instant message, PM, or email, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. So let me just go to one. Oh, and the other thing is, if you're going to be messaging me and you don't want your full name to be disclosed, please let me know how you want me to address you, or if you don't want me to address you at all. But that being said, let's jump on to the first person, and the first person is Michelle K. From Farmingdale, and she asked, Nick, what is the most desirable type of home to buy on Long Island? That's kind of a broad question, and I'll give you from my own perspective of what type of homes I feel are the most popular from top to bottom. I'm not gonna get into every single modification, every different type of option, but I'm gonna run it from the basics. And it also depends on the area that you're in. You got to conform to your area, and if what the buyer is looking for as well. You know, if not one size fits all. But I'll give my opinion about what I feel and what, for the most part, what has been proven as the hierarchy of style of homes, and always colonials seem to top the list for the most part, unless you talk about somebody that's downsized or like. But we're talking about your biggest pool of buyers, and the biggest pool of buyers are usually millennials going into younger buyers, or buyers starting a family and needing that extra space. And colonials always seem to attract the most amount of buyers, in my opinion, and at the same time, they always hold a resale value a lot more than other type of homes. And one of the reasons why is you can grow in these homes. You know, if you have your traditional type of colonial that has, I don't know, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, 2.5 baths, it's enough space to be able to start out and grow in and not have to move. That could be your home forever. And at the same time, people like to have more space. So it's one of those type of things that I think always wins out. And, if you're going down the list, I would say ranches come next. And one of the reasons why ranches are a good fit for a lot of people are, one, people that are starting out. It's a great option for them. It is a smaller home, obviously, than what a colonial is, but at the same time, the affordability factor makes a big difference, and it gives you the option to grow in it as well if you have the funds or the desire to do so. One of the great things about ranches are the way they're set up and the way the footprint is. You have plenty of people that end up putting another floor on top of the ranch, and now that you have your typical colonial, so you can kind of grow into that colonial. And it's going back to why I picked colonial as number one. The other thing that's good about the ranches is the people that are downsizing. Perhaps they're moving from a colonial or a larger home or a Tudor or something to that effect, and they want to kind of bring themselves in a smaller space. They don't need to have as much equity tied up in their home, and it's a great fit. Sometimes some seniors or people get older, don't want to climb up and down stairs very often. There's somebody that may have leg issues that, you know, going up and down stairs might be too much for them. It's a great fit for them. So that's the reason why I think ranches fit right under colonials. And again, this is my own personal opinion. Somebody might defer. Somebody might have a change of opinion for themselves. But for me personally, that's the way I see it, and I've done enough business to be able to kind of back it up. Next on the list, I would say, would be a cape. Why a cape falls under a ranch? Typically, you know, unless they're expanded, and we're not going to go into modification of homes, they're expanded, blown up, that kind of thing. We're talking about your typical type of cape. That would go right under your ranch setting. And one of the reasons why I would put that under and not over is because of a couple of factors. One, they're typically a little smaller than the ranches as far as the first floor footprint. You do get that extra level of the way the cape is set, whether it's finished or unfinished. You do get that extra floor where you can get a couple extra bedrooms out of it. And one of the problems with that is, for a lot of people, is that they split up their family. A lot of people don't want to have 2 bedrooms on the first floor and 2 bedrooms on the second floor. They'd rather have them all on the same floor, or the majority on the same floor. The other thing is, when you have those peaks in a cape, unless they're done well and they're raised all the way to the top of the roof, you typically lose a lot of space, and you have lower ceilings and angled ceilings in those settings. So that sometimes is an issue for a lot of people. Not for everybody, but it's an issue for a lot of people. And it takes away a good portion of the buyer pool because of that. The things that are really positive about capes, and that actually goes along the same lines of the ranch, is if you wanted to expand or to grow the property, you do have that capability. You could always go up on the second floor and dormer out the front, the back, the whole second floor, and then you kind of go back to what the original thing I said was, that you have more of a colonial type of home by doing so. So they are lending, and they're definitely the type of home that you have first-time buyers buying, people starting out, and you have a good portion of people downsizing, taking those as well. Not as many people downsizing, though, are purchasing the capes as many as they are the ranches. For the empty nesters, the people retiring, the people with the leg issues, that kind of, the ranch is always king for them, because they want everything on one floor and don't want to have to climb the stairs. So that always works out well for them. And you know, I'm going to round it off by adding splits. I mean, we could get into really other type of homes and stuff like that, but I'm going to keep it to what I want to call the basic 4. So, you know, obviously we could get into offshoots of homes like Tudors, or we could talk about bungalows and that kind of stuff, but we could spend the whole day talking about individual type of styles and structures. So I'll round off this list by mentioning splits, and I would put that at the bottom of this list because of a couple of factors. One of the thing with splits, especially the ones that are side-to-side splits that are smaller and the rooms are a little bit oddly configured, you're losing a lot of space in there, and a lot of people can't understand that type of dynamic. There is a a really interesting architectural component to it. And you could do a lot of really nice things with splits, but for the most part, especially people that have a traditional type of thought process and need the extra space, being all in one floor or kind of being uniform, they don't necessarily work for them. You know, you could take into consideration people that are coming in from, let's say, Queens, Brooklyn. They're more used to having homes that are kind of, you know, uniform, one level per floor, instead of having the components that are split up. And when they're looking at it for the first time, it's sometimes it's a little difficult for them to understand and grasp, and at the same time, how to utilize these rooms. Uh, Not there's anything wrong with them. It's just not as desirable as the rest of them. Hopefully, I answered the question as well as I can, Michelle. And again, that's my opinion. And for the most part, I feel that it's actually been pretty right on target over the years as far as what people are looking at. You know, so thanks again for sending me that email. And I'm going to answer one more before we get into the topic of the day. And let me see who's the next person I should go to. I want to keep it as short as possible without actually dedicating a whole show on it. You know, some of these questions are pretty involved that they're asking me, and I'll definitely answer, and I do answer everybody as they send me, but you know, a lot of them are best left off the air and with a detailed email that would help give them a better answer for what they're looking for. So, okay, so I'm gonna read. I can say his last name. I don't think he really wants me. We're going to say Brian from Plainview. And what he's asking me here is, my taxes have grown exponentially over the past few years. I don't know what to do. The taxes are going up all over the island. How do I keep this under control? You know, that's another tough question, and it's not a easy answer to be able to give somebody. First of all, if anybody that's been listening this past year of shows, I was doing quite a strong campaign to guide people to actually grieve their taxes. And you know, it always starts in January and typically ends. There was extension this year into April, but it typically ends in March. And you have the opportunity at that point to go grieve your taxes either by yourself. It's very easy to do. Go online, all the information is there. And if you'd like, Brian, I'm going to definitely send you over the links of how to get that done. You could do it on your own. It's not as difficult as you think. I compile comps for people all the time when it's that time of the year, and try to help them as much as possible to keep their taxes as low as possible, reduce them, or at least keep them level. So you have that option. You also have the option of going with one of these attorneys. And the good thing with a lot of these attorneys or these tax grievance type of outfits is that you don't have to pay them anything up front. They work based on what your savings would be. So in other words, if they're able to save you X amount of dollars going forward on the property, they would take a certain percentage. And every agency or attorney that does these have their own percentage levels that they work on. You know, they go from 25% all the way to 50% of what they would save. So something definitely that's up for negotiation. You should definitely shop around when you're using one of these attorneys. But that's an option for somebody that really does not want to or does not have the time to actually go and do the work themselves to actually try to agree to the taxes, or they don't feel confident enough about doing so. It's definitely a viable option. And at the same time, all you're really paying is what your filing fees would be and, you know, administration kind of fees. And you're not really paying anything out of pocket, a substantial, if and when you actually save any type of money. And you know what? For the most part, people are very welcome to pay that amount because they are saving the money. So it's a kind of a win-win situation. But you definitely have the option to do it on your own, and you definitely have the option to use somebody to do it for you. And that's the first place you start. So I don't know if you've ever grieve these taxes, your taxes, or if you've taken any steps in trying to have them reduced, Brian, but you should definitely do so. And um, by far the first part of the equation is there. The second thing that you should look at is, you mentioned that you possibly might, that you're looking all around the island of what a good substitute would be. There are places that are lower in taxes than others, obviously. You meant you're in Plainview, so the taxes in Plainview have risen significantly over the past few years, and I definitely feel your pain in that extent. That because I live in Syosset, and it's pretty on the same level as far as how the taxes have gone up over the years, and anybody from those areas really, they're significant. And this year, the fact that they're not going to be able to deduct the entire amount from their taxes with the new tax laws that are taking place will be a factor. But here's the thing. As far as being able to move to a home that's comparable in size and property and that kind of thing, quality, in a location that actually is a little bit more affordable taxes, is definitely a possibility. Because whether you're in Nassau or Suffolk, you definitely have options. You definitely could go to places that the taxes are not as significant. It's a question of what else you need as far as from that location is concerned. If you're going to be moving purely for the tax and nothing else is a factor, then the sky's the limit as far as where you could go. I don't know what you're looking at as far as how low you want to keep them, but you definitely have options. The taxes have gone up across the board. It's not only dedicated to the island; it's in the city as well. Queens, Brooklyn, taxes have gone up everywhere. So again, you have the options. There are places to go, but it also depends on what you're looking for. Like if you got your kids, Plainview has a great school district. If you probably want to go into something that's comparably rated, or not. If that doesn't make a difference to you, then it doesn't make a difference to you. But what is it that you're looking for? Because you could go into a place that it doesn't have an incorporated village. I mean, Plainview doesn't have one yet, but you can find ways to move to area that it could be satisfactory to your needs and keep your taxes within a reasonable cost to you, and at the same time not have to go significantly higher in price, or you might even go lower in price in another area that would work for you. So like I said, there are options. It is a pretty broad question. I'll send you over those links. I'll email them to you as far as going straight to Nassau County to be able to review your taxes. And if you have any other questions, or do you want me to elaborate a little bit more on it, I'll definitely, it'll be my pleasure to answer any questions. Please email me back and I'll get back to you. So let's go on to the topic at hand today. So get ready for my stunning graphics because, you know, we have a really, really high-tech graphic design, computer graphics team here, getting all our logos and graphics ready for the show. And, you know, you let me know how well you think, how much you like the graphics that we have here. There you go. That's my extremely over the top budget graphics and titles to the show, at least for now. When I do the edits of the show, I'll actually do the right thing. But I don't know if you see it or not. I can't see myself, so hopefully you can see that. And what we're saying is what not to do when selling your home. And that's quite a topic. It is a topic that I feel that I've had a discussion with a lot of people on, and some people gravitate to the advice. Some people have to learn the hard way. And, you know, I'll start with the obvious stuff, okay? And personal bias aside, being a real estate professional, everybody here knows that I'm a real estate agent and this is what I do for a living. So personal bias aside, if you don't know what you're doing or you have a difficult time dealing with people and dealing with negotiations and understanding the real estate process and understanding how the whole structure of selling a home, I strongly suggest you get you hire a professional. You could work with them. They could you know, you could work out what they'll offer to you. You could go the discount route. You could go with full broker route. You could do a whole array of type of services that will help you. But if you really are going in, you know, I don't want to sound blunt, but if you're really going in clueless, you want to hire a professional to help you and guide you, or at the very least, pay somebody on a fee basis just to consult you, because they do that all the time. I do that sometimes on more times than not. I do that more on a evaluation basis or on commercial building basis, where I sit and evaluate the numbers and just really figure out what needs to be done in terms of income and expense and that kind of thing. Or sometimes I'll help people by doing BPOs and giving them real assessed values of what their properties are going for, and sometimes they need that for their banks or they need it for their insurance companies or whatever they need. So I do that for my clients. I don't charge them, but you know, if you're going to somebody as a stranger, I'm sure they'll charge you a fee for their time, because obviously time is money and they're looking to help you out. And do that, at the very least do that, or be diligent as far as doing your homework and reading a lot and trying to figure things along the way. You know, just like everything, when you're doing something for the first time, you're going to do a bunch of mistakes, but you know, it is what it is. So, you know, again, that's my bias, you know, but it makes a lot of sense. Like, you know, there's a lot of things out there that I can't do myself. I'm going to hire them out. I'm not going to try to do the work for them, you know. Can I sit and tinker with my car and mess around with the engine, trying to get it to run properly? I guess I could. I guess I could open up a book and try to figure it out. Will I do more harm than good? More than likely. But it is what it is, you know. But you definitely want to at least put yourself in the right direction and set yourself up to succeed in the best possible way. So either become a great student of real estate or hire somebody to help you. So that's going to be the really obvious one, and the one that's um, taking me out of the equation. I'm basically, I don't want to make it sound like I'm just endorsing hiring real estate agents kind of thing, because there are situations where people sell their house on their own. They don't need anybody to help them, because it's something very easy for them to do, and it comes natural to them, and they're in a very hot area that the houses basically sell themselves. Typically, they do end up leaving money on the table, because I don't think they quite know everything that's going on, and they don't have enough contact with buyers to understand what they're thinking and possibly how much they'd be willing to spend or what they're not willing to spend. But that's another topic and another conversation for another day. So that one aside, let's get into the condition of the home, because I think that's a really important topic. And selling a home does not start the day you decide to actually sell it. Selling a home should start the day you buy the house and put those keys through the door for the first day. And what do I mean by that? For the most part, if you own a home, you should try to maintain it as much as humanly possible. Do the right thing by the home. Make sure that everything is properly working, everything is maintained. Every so often you give it, you freshen it up. You paint the house every few years. Basically care about the house, show love in the house, because I've been into many homes that are really great homes, and the spaces are really beautiful, and you see that there was once a really fantastic home on that property, and due to neglect and lack of maintenance, the home deteriorated significantly, and it shows. Here's the other thing. Just because you did a full renovation in 1980 and you spent a ton of money at that point, and you maintained it well, does not mean that somebody's gonna be willing to buy that house. But that's a side note, because I actually ran into a few houses these past couple of weeks like that, where people actually did a significant amount of work, and you could tell that a lot of money was spent at the time they spent the money. The problem was the year was 1982 or 1978 or whatever the case is. So for back then, thumbs up. I'll give you 2 thumbs up. You did. I don't know if you could see me. You get 2 thumbs up, but does not mean that's going to come back in 2018. I mean, styles do go cyclical. So if you're hoping that the style will come back, Formica will make a huge comeback, and beanbags will make a comeback, and whatever you have on there, it will become chic again. Wait till that happens. But if you're selling today, you got to make sure that it's definitely reflected today, or if it's not, then you got to reflect it in the price that it needs updated. So that brings us to one of the biggest issues of selling a home and causing conflicts is the actual pricing. And when you have homes that are priced grossly, they're grossly overpriced, or they're priced significantly higher than what the market should and will bear, that's a problem right there. And I'm not talking about homes that are very unique, or you're kind of setting the standard in the neighborhood, or you're talking about new developments where you're upping up the price per square foot and that kind of thing. I'm talking about having a home that's in a, let's say, $500,000 neighborhood. You know, I like to use round numbers. So you have a house that's right in the middle of a neighborhood that's averaging around $500,000, and you decide your home is worth $800,000. Well, how do you justify that? Well, let me put myself into Mr. Homeowner's shoes. And the answer I get from them are, well, I spent all this money on these new floors, and I just put a new roof in, and I just painted the house. And my answer usually is, good for you. You painted the house, which is going to be really good for you as far as the resale of the house, because you look clean. The other thing is you change the roof, which is going to add significant appeal to your house, because now you have a component of the house that people are not going to have to spend money on. And you just redid the floors, which is another good thing, because you gave them one less thing they're going to have to do in their home when the buyers are going to have to do in their home when they move in. But does not necessarily mean that you could grossly overprice yourself compared to the rest of the market. You know, if every good thing is selling in that 500-ish type of range, let's say in a perfect world, everything sells for 500 on the spot, and they're okay houses. There's nothing special. There's no bells and whistles. So they're decent. They're a little worn. Whoever buys the house is going to have to do some kind of work. Maybe they'll polish the floors. Maybe they'll paint the house. Maybe in a couple of years they're going to have to change a roof or a boiler or something like that. And you give them a house that everything is completely maintained. You're meticulous about your home. You've done everything the right way. You've used the best materials, that kind of thing. How much of a premium do you think that's going to be on a neighborhood like that? Because I'll tell you what my experience will tell me. You'll probably get a premium of maybe 5%, maybe, over the premium. So let's say everything's selling for 500 for homes that need a little bit of work. Not significant, just a little bit of work, they're decent shape, and your home is ready to move in because you've done everything the right way. You're probably looking at a house that's going to probably sell at 5.25, 530. You know, in a perfect storm, you'll be maybe 540, somewhere around that range. But you know, you have to be realistic. You know, should you price it at 600? No. Should you price it at 550? No. You should price it probably at a price range of like 525, 530, right around there, and you'll probably get it or close to it because you're that much better than every other house, you know. But you also have to justify your pricing. You can't just throw numbers out there just to say that's my price and that's what it's going to sell for, because that's what I feel it's worth. Well, what you feel is worth does not mean anything to the buyer pool. The buyer pool is going to dictate what they feel it's worth. So you have to be very mindful to that. And I know I'm being blunt about it, and I know that you know, some people don't like to hear these things, but it's the truth, and it's just the way it is. You know, I'm sorry to tell you that, but it's just a fact of life. And the other thing is, if you're so severely overpriced compared to the rest of the market, it's going to be very, very difficult for somebody to actually appraise if they're buying it through a conventional type of method with a loan. You know, if they're buying it through with a loan and they're getting like a typical conventional loan of 20% on, you know, again in the market of $500,000, and you know they do have the buying power of up to 600, let's say, and they decide to actually bid and win and buy that house for $600,000. Here's the problem: when the bank comes in and appraises that property, and they appraise it for, let's say, 500 or 525, and you're buying it for 600, what happens then? There's going to be a big amount that's going to be unaccounted for, and it's going to have to come out of a couple of different methods. So one is it's either going to be the buyer's going to have to come up with additional cash for the deposit. The seller is going to have to change their price in order to accommodate, or the deal is going to fall apart, and now the seller's back to the beginning. So it rarely happens any different way. It's just the way it is. So, some areas, or some instances, you have people that come in with cash, and it doesn't matter to them what they're paying for it because they love the house, and that's it. You know, you can't depend and you can't bank on one of those type of situations. You have to go into what the general type of sales happen, and you know, you have to also conform to your neighborhood as well. You know, if you're selling a normal type of home that's not an investment, you're not going to get a ton of investors coming in with cash to buy the place. If you're selling a spec home that's an investment, that's a different story. You will get the people with the investments to come in and the cash to purchase. So you have to keep that in mind, and you have to be very mindful of what type of pricing you put on the house. Now, if you have a house that's truly a special house, something that's a little different, something that stands out in the market, something that has bells and whistles unlike anything else, and there is something substantial about it that may differentiate it, then you can start putting the premiums. But then you're in a danger because you're setting the market, and you don't know how the public and how the buyers are going to react to you setting the market. They might react in a positive way by acknowledging the value and actually appreciating it and be willing to pay for it, or they might actually go the other way of saying, we don't see the value because the house is selling around you. Don't justify. So will you end up selling at a premium? Yeah, you will sell at a premium because somebody will acknowledge it, but how much of a premium is in question? You got to be very careful with that, and it's a very difficult type of scenario to be in, and that's why I tell a lot of people don't over improve. If you're in a $500,000 area and you have a $2 million house right in the middle of everything, guess what? You're over improved. You won't be able to recoup your money. Very likely, very unlikely to be able to recoup your investment, and at the same time, you just boosted up the values of all the houses around you, instead of all the houses collectively accelerating each other. You just accelerate everybody else, because now all of a sudden, everybody that has the lower priced house are looking at it and say, "Oh wow, look what we have next to us. Look at what kind of investments being made in this area." And they're going to be able to justify their price of jumping up a little bit, but you won't be able to justify your price in a way that will be able to bring you to your full value, and that's the problem. And it happens often. And one of the things I do with a lot of sellers, before they even plan on selling their houses, I always tell people, I don't care if it's a year or two ahead of time. Give, give me a call. I'll come in. I'll take a look at the place, and I'll give you my honest opinion of things that maybe you should do or shouldn't do. I don't like to tell people to do costly type of improvements if not necessary, but I definitely have a good knack of pointing out um, a few items that with little or no money they're able to maintain and repair or upgrade, and it will add significant value. Okay, so let's say you have a home that is relatively in good shape, but it's starting to show a bit of its age. It's kind of starting to get a little worn. It's starting to get a little bit um, tired, let's say, and you're thinking, what am I going to do to get this place going? Well, one of the things from the interior point of view, that's a relatively inexpensive upgrade compared to a lot of other things, is giving it a nice fresh coat of paint. And a nice fresh coat of paint goes a very, very long way. I don't know how much people, how many people I know run away because of either aged paint jobs or odd paint jobs that are done in houses, and for some reason they have a mental block and they can't see through that paint. I always tell people, paint is paint. You can paint right over it. It's not an issue, and as long as you have the ability and the funds. But and especially in the smaller homes, people could paint their own houses many times if they're just a little handy. So it's definitely something that you do. Another thing is if you got wood floors and that kind of thing, you don't have to replace the floors, but if you could at least sand down a little bit and buff them, polish them, that goes a long way. Very long way. What else? If you got carpets inside the house and they're really worn or really ugly or really, I mean, and everybody's got a different definition of what ugly is, but for me, ugly is ugly. If they're ugly and worn, um, either get rid of them, polish up the wood floors under there if you got them, and leave it nice and clean like that. Or if you don't, and it's on plywood, just put another carpet on there. And you don't have to go complete top of the line, but put something nice, clean, something durable that will be able to give a new breath of life to those rooms that you put the carpets in. So that's something that, again, is not a very expensive thing to do, and it will go a long way. Here's the things that I strongly recommend that people should think twice about before doing that. And because I've had people go so over the top that really did not constitute the amount of money. I mean, the effort and the money that they spent did not even come close to making any kind of return on their investment. And you're in a house that's worth $700,000, okay, and you decide this place needs a upgrade and needs a change. I want to do this, but I want to get ready to sold. And let's say your kitchen's from like 1990 and it's older, that kind of thing, and you're looking at kitchens, new things to be done. One, I'll give a couple of pieces of advice to the potential sellers on that in that case. One, I'll either tell them to either resurface that kitchen to give it a new fresh life, and that's probably the most cost efficient way to do it. That, or change the counters, maybe change the appliances. That will give it a little bit of life, and it'll make it actually um, work well for them without having to spend a ton. Another thing I might say is maybe change the floors, maybe change the backsplash, maybe just do something to do. Maybe sometimes all it takes is changing the hardware uh, to change the look of the kitchen. But then you get other people that actually decide that they're going to gut that entire kitchen, and in that $700,000 house, they're going to put a $125,000 kitchen. And will it make that house pop? Will it look amazing? Will it make the buyer want to buy that house more than any other house because of that reason? Absolutely. Kitchens are a big deal in houses, and they're one of the rooms that actually sell homes. But here's the thing. You're not going to turn around and get $825,000 because you just spent $125,000 on a $700,000 home. The buyer's not going to appreciate that as much as you do, or even care that you spent that kind of money in there. In general, again, things happen. I've sold houses in very strange type of settings where people have surprised me, but in general, it's just not going to happen. It really is not, and that's one item that I'm pointing out. I've seen kitchens that are overimproved, bathrooms that are overimproved, materials that they put on floors, or type of permanent fixtures that are added into homes that are extremely costly, and they just don't bring a return on you. And you know what? I could do I could do a show based on what's the best items that you'll get a return on your money when you're making improvements in your home, and we'll do that maybe a little later on in the year. But you have to be very careful as far as how much you over improve, because that could that's something that is a very difficult pill to swallow for a lot of people, because they know what they spent. They put their love into the place. They went for the best. And you know what? If you're doing that to live in and enjoy for X amount of years, then go ahead and enjoy it and love that house. But if you're doing it just to resell it and thinking that that's going to make a significant difference as far as what you're going to end up selling the house for, you're making a big mistake. And it's been proven time and time again. So be very wary about the type of improvements you make to the house and the type of approach you take. And the other thing is, you don't want to get very customized. Customizations don't necessarily mean additional value in the home, and they don't necessarily mean additional appeal in the home. Because here's the thing about being customized. It sounds great when you say, oh, customize this, customize kitchens, customize wall units, customize closets, this, that. The problem with customization is one size does not fit all. And you need to take into consideration what the masses are looking at, not just what you're looking at, what you love. You might go and make a really customized type of basement that's really cool to you, and you got all these different contraptions coming out of the walls here and there, and it's a phenomenal type of setting, and you love it. but there might be people, there will be a lot of people that don't see that. And what you might find of value, they might not, and say, we're going to just have to redo this whole thing. I don't want this. You know, it just doesn't make sense. You know, uh, you could have the best intentions, and you could turn around and say, I'm putting the best materials in, and it's the way I like it. You could turn around and put gold faucets and gold handles, 24 karat gold all the way around. And we all know that it has value. But here's the thing. A lot of people will come in and say, I don't like it. This is too over the top for me. I don't like it. I want something more basic, a little bit more modest. And you got to be very careful. You want to be as neutral as possible if you're going to be doing any kind of improvements with the concept or the thought process of selling your home. If you're, again, doing those customization because you're planning on living in the place for a long time and enjoying it, then go ahead. But just be prepared that when the time comes to sell that home, that what you value and those customizations, the joy they've brought to you, they might not necessarily reflect the same way for the new buyer or the new homeowner that's going to be taking the place. You know, looks like I got really on a roll with a couple of things, and the time is definitely running out. But I'm going to just jump on one more thing before the show ends, and I want to bring up a topic and a thought that I think my followers and everybody listening to the show, I think might get a kick out of, and I'm gonna do a type of drawing or a type of contest, and I'm thinking about, you know what, I'm just gonna put it out there. I want people to message me or email me or find a way to get me over their most interesting real estate related stories. And I'm going to give out a prize that I think a lot of people that will appreciate, and I think it might actually help some people. So I want everybody to send me the best real estate related stories or occurrences, and whoever I find to be the winner on that, I'm going to give them an option of two things: to come to the studio and sit with me during a full radio show, or to give them 1 full year of sponsorship on our webpage through the WGBB website. So if they got a business they wanted to promote or something like that, I'll get the logo out there with the links, and they'll have an opportunity to get advertisements through the show. And obviously I'll give them a couple spots and read anything they like on the air. Or they'll have the option to actually sit in the studio and not only sit and listen and see how the process is and actually get to see how the studio looks up close, but also have the option to participate. I'll have a mic set up for them, and they could chime in anytime they want, and whether, depending on who wins and what kind of character they are or not, or what kind of a character they're not, maybe add some value to the show, or maybe sink it. We'll see how it ends up working out. But I think that's going to be something that I think one lucky winner will appreciate, and I'm going to follow up this show by giving everybody the details on this contest and where to send everything through. I'll put an email, and obviously you could message me through social media. But that being said, we're at the end of the show. Once more, it's been a pleasure. I hope everybody has a great evening, a fantastic week, and I'll be here with you again next Monday, just like every Monday, from 6 to 7 with the Real Estate Plate. Thank you. Have a great night.